Hi guys. Welcome back to yoga. This is episode 39. 39. Can you even believe it or stand it, quite frankly? Episode 39 of Global Freaking Pandemic Yoga. And yoga this month is being brought to you courtesy of the Cedar Grove Public Library. So if you're enjoying this and this is helping to keep you a little bit sane during quarantine, maybe shoot them an email and thank them for all the programs that they're continuing to try to offer through virtual platforms, which is super nice. It's really hot out today, right? We're going to get right into it. I thought today we would focus on side body stretching. If you're not familiar with your side body, it's the area from your hip up into your underarm area. So it's this whole length of space. And the reason I thought we would do side body stretching is because I know mine are tight right now. I do other stuff. I walk a lot every day and I do strength training stuff and I do yoga stuff, but I tend to crunch into myself. Like when I'm out walking, if I'm going up hills, I tend to lean into the hill with my upper body, which crunches into my back. And so anytime I can take the opportunity to just do a big side stretch, it always feels really good. So we're going to focus on side bodies. That's what I did in my in-person class last night, and it seemed to be well received. So we're going to do the same thing today. And I think you'll find that, like with most other yoga poses, even though we have a specific intention and a specific part of our body that we're focusing on, it's going to feel good all over. You'll get a nice full body opening and stretching in the process. So lay on your mat, arms out, palms up, find your breath. We're also going to end today with a little tiny bit of breath work right after Shavasana. So we'll go from Shavasana to sitting up to just a minute or two of breath work, and then we'll say goodbye. And our next class is number 40. 40. Crazy. My husband and I were just saying last night that when this first started, that first Friday that my kids came home from school, I remember thinking 2-3 weeks, this will be fun. 2 or 3 weeks, and here we are almost like 5 or 6 months later, right? Mike is losing track of all time. He said, just yesterday, he said, remember when this started like 2 months ago? 2 months ago? 2 months ago, we were in the thick of it, man. 2 months ago. But, you know, it happens. But I'm glad you're with me today. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you make the time for this. I was talking to a friend this morning about self-care and how important self-care is. But self-care has changed and evolved a little bit over the last couple of months because as much as I'd love to go get a massage, I can't. And even if I can, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that because it's a lot of someone else in my own space, you know? Manicures, pedicures, facials, all of that. You have to determine what your comfort level is and then decide if the need outweighs the risk, I guess. But self-care has changed a little bit because those are things that we consider to be self-care. But yoga is an amazing way to take care of yourself. And thankfully, whether you've been practicing with me, for the last 5 or 6 months, or if you've been flip-flopping between myself and other teachers, or maybe just catching me now and then, anytime you unroll your mat and you take time to just be very present in the moment and listen to your body and take time to create some space inside yourself where maybe there wasn't space for new things before, you're performing an act of self-care, and that's something to be praised, right? I would love to go get a massage, but yoga is the best I can do for now, and it helps. It works for me, so I hope it works for you too. You're on your back, your arms are out, palms are up. Find your breath. Eyes are closed. Just let this be a meditational couple of minutes here. Do your best to keep your eyes closed for as long as you can until they just open and you didn't even realize they opened. Tune everything out. I'm in my living room right now. I'm in my foyer. But I'm looking into my living room and I can see the curtains fluttering from the air conditioner. I can see the sunlight coming in through the windows and dappling the floor. I can see little white twinkle lights that I have on top of the bookshelf, like I have behind me. There's a lot to look at. There's a lot of stimulus. So if you can close your eyes and tune all of that out for just a minute or so, it'll really help you to center yourself and focus and be even more present than you might already be for the next however long we're together. Start at the top of your head like you normally would for me and work your way down. Figure out what's good, what's off, what needs a little extra love, or maybe needs you to kind of back off of it today. I get to see so many people when I'm out walking, and it's so nice because I get to talk to people. So let's see, today we had a conversation about self-care with another friend. He mentioned that he's wearing different sneakers today to walk because one of his feet has been bothering him, the arch of one of his feet, and he's had plantar fasciitis before, and he's afraid it's going to come back. So he switched out his sneaker, and he was going to do less strength training today. He wasn't going to do jumping jacks today. He was just going to walk and do some other stuff. And I said, it's so good that you're aware and that you take measures to try to ward something off before it comes at you really full force, but yet you can still remain active. You just change up what you're doing a little bit. And he said, you know, that's new for me. I wasn't like that up until fairly recently. And I don't know if this is a male-female thing or if it's because he has a history of being like a really good athlete. I don't know, but he said typically, you know, when he was a little bit younger, he would go harder into something and try to work through it rather than take an approach that's kind of like, oh, I'm going to step back for a little bit and just give this time to heal and then ease my way back into it. And that's what you're doing when you start at the top of your head and work your way down. If something's a little off, if a hip's a little tight, like right now my low back just kind of feels a little crunchy, and I think it's from leaning into my heels this morning and compressing. But I know that for me it's muscular, so when I do some yoga with you today, I'm going to go a little deeper into things and see how that feels on my back. If it was something where I was afraid plantar fasciitis was going to come back, which is terrible, then I would probably step off a little bit and give it some time and figure out something else to do in the meantime so that I didn't aggravate that. So you have to start to discern and figure out what needs more attention and what needs less attention. Arms are out, palms are up, right? Let's take a twist with the knees. I'm going to do this with you because, like I said, my back is a little bit tight, and I think this will feel super good. Move my water. I already drank my Starbucks today. I came home from walking, and I was drenched in sweat, and I walked in, got my keys, and walked right back out to go into the Starbucks drive-thru line. And for some reason today, there was one car in front of me. That has been unheard of for the last 5 or so months. Usually you wait for 30 minutes, and I know that's crazy, but it's worth it to me because that's one of my favorite things. So today I got my drink. It only took 20 minutes from the front door to Starbucks and back, and it was totally worth it, and it made me happy. So knees are coming in. We're dropping the legs over to the right. Let the legs settle, right? I say this every single time, but it's really important that you do it this way. Let the legs settle, and then pay attention to the back of the left shoulder. See how there's a beanbag chair here, but see how my arm is flat on the ground, right? It's really snuggled down. There's no gap underneath me at all. That's what you want. If you have any kind of a lift, you know, if your arm's doing this a little bit because your shoulder muscles are just so tight, I don't want to tell you to force it down, but even if it's uncomfortable, as long as you don't think you're tearing something or hurting something, let the weightiness of the arm bring it down. And eventually, those muscles in here in the front of the shoulder will lengthen, and it won't be such a task to keep the arm down. It will just naturally do it. And that's part of yoga. That's part of opening things and allowing room and creating space. Look straight up or look towards your left hand, whatever feels best on your neck. And you can close your eyes again if you want to. You don't have to worry about balancing here because you're laying down, or you can leave them open and just focus on your breath. But either way, find your breath. Find your inhale, hold it for a second in the low belly, and then slowly exhale it back out. And just repeat this a couple times on each side until, well, on this side, until it feels a little bit more natural and less like something you have to think about. You know, the goal with breath work is for it to become organic. So you're conscious and you're thinking about your breath more than you normally would, but at the same time, you're not really thinking about it at all. That's the goal with yoga breath work. In Sanskrit, your breath is called prana, and prana is defined as your life force. And, you know, our breath is our life force. If we stop breathing, we've got a real problem. But we don't think about it all the time. We just count on our bodies to continue doing it for us until they don't anymore. But you can also consciously breathe for different reasons. So the breath work that we're going to do today is a good one for anxiety. It's a good one for calming you down. It's a good one for forcing you to pay attention and be in the moment. I think you'll like it. All right, bring your knees up to center. Come on into either a big happy baby or one hand on each knee, whatever you prefer. And notice here, I kind of like to wiggle into it a little bit. Notice here how that takes the natural curve out of your low back and really flattens your spine down. So when our knees are pulled in, the natural curve disappears. Everybody lengthen your legs out long in front of you for a minute and notice how you can slide your hands under your low back, because now the natural curve is there and it's also exaggerated a little bit. For some people, this is very uncomfortable. This was a question in my Friday class last week. For some people, this is very uncomfortable on their low back. So if you're doing this and this is really uncomfortable ever in any yoga class with any teacher, bend your knees, go wide with your feet, and let your legs tower in towards one another. That will ease the arch in your low back, maybe not completely flattening it, but taking out the deepness and the intensity of it, and it should feel better on your low back. So that's an option. Or take the arch out altogether and go into your happy baby and roll around, massage your low back out a little bit with your movement. My knee just cracked. Did you guys hear that? My right knee. It feels good when your back cracks. It doesn't feel great when your knee cracks. All right, knees are gonna come in, arms are gonna come out. We're gonna drop our legs over to our left. And same thing, the legs settle, and then you get the back of the right arm as flush on the ground as you can. The goal is to have no space between the ground, your upper arm, the back of your shoulder blade. You don't want the arm to be hanging in air. You want it to be as flat as you can. And for some people who maybe are over a keyboard all day or are doing something that kind of encourages their arms to be forward of them, the muscles in here get shorter. And you want to lengthen and create space. And even though it's uncomfortable and tight, you still want to work on doing that. Close your eyes, find your breath. So this is a side body stretch. I don't normally mention that, I think, when we're doing this, because I like this just as a twist. But this is a side body stretch. You're lengthening from the underarm down through the hip. And this, of course, is wrapping around the back of the hip a little bit, but we're not focusing on that today. We're focused strictly on the side body, and then you're going to get all the other benefits. But I want you to play with this for a second. If we pull our knees in a little closer to our left elbow and tighten the twist, the side body stretch becomes bigger and deeper. And you may find it a little bit harder to regulate your breathing and have that breath work be smooth and flowy, the inhale and the exhale. It may take you a minute to find that smooth breath again as you settle into the twist. In between our ribs, we have these little muscles called intercostal muscles. They're like little finger muscles that kind of mesh together. And that's what we're pulling apart. So whereas they might normally be really tight like this, like my fingers, we're lengthening them and creating space in between them, all down our side body.
Just another breath or two here. And then we're going to come on up to center. Again, happy baby or one hand on each knee, whatever you prefer. You'll notice the ball cap is back because I need to wash my hair. It's hard. It's hard to figure out when to wash your hair right now because it's so hot. There's always some kind of daily workout going on, so it's always sweaty. I hate washing my hair every day. Legs are going to go straight up in the air, and you're going to flex your feet, pull the toes down, press up through the heel. So my thinking today is that if I let it go today, after I work out tomorrow, I'll wash my hair. And then Thursday, we're supposed to go tubing down the Delaware because we got rained out last week. So then I'll wash it when I come home Thursday night. Reach for the back of your knees. One hand on the back of the knee gently, and just gently guide your legs towards you, but continue to engage the feet and press out through the big toe mound as well as the heel. Again, flattening your spine down into the mat. Taking some nice deep breaths. Maybe walking the hands up to the ankles a little bit. Pressing up through the big toe mound, pressing up through the heel. Feeling this all down the length of your leg. My hamstrings are simultaneously crying and thanking me right now. See if you can go a little further, maybe lifting your low back up off the mat. And then bending the knees, feet to the floor, soles of the feet together, knees out to the sides, coming into Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose. Arms at your sides, palms up. So in this pose, even though you're tempted to muscularly lift the knees to keep it from being as intense in your inner thighs, let gravity pull them down as much as they want to go. And just let the stretch happen. It's an inner thigh stretch. It's a groin muscle stretch. Just let it happen by allowing gravity to pull the knees down. Find your breath here. Try to breathe through any discomfort you're feeling. Knees up to center. Now, an unusual side body stretch, and one that we've probably never really considered, is a pose that we've done a million times. We're going to drop the right knee down to the inside of the left foot. And you'll notice that the back of the right side lifts up when you do that, right? The right side body lifts up. Your spine is arching a little bit towards the left knee. A little bit of the back right hip is lifting up. And you're getting a slight lengthening from the right underarm down through the right hip. We're going to do things that are bigger than this, but this is just a good start. Let the knee relax. Opening the quad, lengthening the quad, but also starting to encourage the side bodies to take a big breath in, exhale, and release. I like to imagine that that's what my muscles do when I practice yoga, that they inhale and then they exhale and release their tightness, release their tension. I like to visualize my muscles as they move through my yoga practice versus just me moving through it. Okay, we're going to switch sides. So now we're going to drop the left knee down to the inside of the right foot, and the back of the left side body is going to lift up off the mat and start to roll towards the right knee. And we're not going to try to stop that. We're going to allow that to happen. We're going to do our best to not muscularly engage the left leg and lift it out of the pose at all, even if it's uncomfortable. Find your breath. Inhale. And exhale. Lift the leg one more time. Come into Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together, knees dropping. And notice if this time you're able to release a little bit easier. I am. My knees don't want to like instinctively pull up to keep the stretch from happening because it's a deep stretch. I'm able to allow them to drop a little bit easier. So here what we're going to do is interlace our hands above us, bring them down to the ground behind us, push out through the palms so that we're getting a side body stretch on both sides. And then we're going to grip our left wrist with our right hand and pull that arm up and over to the right a little bit. So now we're focusing more on the left side body. And then doing the same thing on the right side. And then releasing the arms down, up above, trying to get the whole length of the arm flat on the ground. Knees are going to come up, legs are going to come out long in front of you. And you're going to point your toes and really flex through the top of the feet. So muscularly you feel this in the top of your feet, up into the tops of your ankles. And then release, close your eyes, take some breaths. Okay, so you guys are going to come up onto hands and knees. And we're going to start to cat and cow. Okay, so inhale, drop your head, press your spine up. Exhale, arch your back and look up. Move on your breath. You're inhaling and exhaling, trying to exaggerate your movements as always. You'll notice that I'm using a yucky blue mat instead of my beloved orange mat. I'm not sure where my orange mat is. It's kind of crazy, right? But Alex has been coming to my 14-year-old has been coming to my Monday night classes. And my kids have never shown much of an interest in yoga. But Alex is very athletic, does a bunch of things. He's a competitive swimmer and he runs and he trail rides, and yoga can only help him. But I've never really wanted to hound my kids about yoga. I've always wanted them to come if they wanted to come. And he's been coming every Monday night, which I'm so excited about. And he's really good. He does a great job. But I think maybe he has my mat. I'm not sure. So we're going to go into a widening child's pose. Hips are going to press back. Arms are going to come out in front of you. And then from here, hands and knees, downward facing dog. Drop your heels down. My Achilles are so tight right now. This again feels good and awful at the same time. But I'm going to press my heels down to the floor, get as big of a stretch as I can from my heel up through the back of my leg. All the while breathing and focusing on my inhale and my exhale. Check your stance. Come forward into a plank. See if you have to move your hands or feet. Exhale, back into dog. Come up high on the toes and bend the knees a little. Lift the hips really high. And then lengthen through the back of the knees and drop the heels. So obviously you can see how dog is a good side body stretch, right? Hips are high. You're planted down into your mat through your palms. You're pushing the mat away from you and lifting the hips higher. And in the process, you get a nice big stretch. We're going to walk our hands back to meet our toes. Coming into a pike position and a forward bend at the back end of our mat. Drop the back of your neck. Interlace your arms. Bring some weightiness to your pose. Find your breath here. Make sure you're releasing the back of your neck too, okay? You don't want to not get the pose because you're holding your neck tight. Inhale up to a flat back. Exhale and fold. Inhale up, flat back.
Exhale and fold.
One more time. Inhale up.
Exhale and fold.
Come on out into dog.
Walk the hands out.
Hips are high. Come on down onto hands and knees.
And go back into your widening child's pose with your arms out really long in front and your hips pushing deeply back behind you so that you're lengthening from the hips up into the underarm area, which is the definition of lengthening the side body. All right, hands and knees. So our first side body stretch we're going to stay on our knees for. And actually for our first two, we're going to stay down on our knees. So we're going to come on up. You can have your back foot curled under or have the toes out flat behind you, whatever you prefer. But we're going to start with bringing our right leg out to our side. And we want to get the bottom of our foot flat on the ground. Okay? Left hand comes to left hip, right arm, so same arm, same leg, is just going to reach above and over, press into the bottom of that right foot, reach across the space that you're in with your right fingers, and then come on up. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So these are big lung opening poses, big heart expander poses, right? Right hand to right hip, left hand to left hip. Swing the left arm up and over and reach across the space that you're in. Pressing into the bottom of the left foot for grounding and then coming up. Come on into a cat and cow for a minute. And then we're going to take that pose just a step further with an option that might challenge you a little bit. But you can always do the version that we just did instead if that feels more comfortable. Okay, so we're going to start the same way. Left knee is going to stay down, right leg is out to the side, bottom of the right foot is flat on the ground. We're going to bring our left hand to the ground on the outside of our left knee. We're going to lean into that left hand and we're going to lengthen out big through the right fingertips. And if you're comfortable, you can let that right leg lift and then bring everything back down and find your cat and cow. Okay, up onto hands and knees, same thing. Left leg out to your side, bottom of the foot down. Right hand on the ground on the outside of the right knee and stretch across the space and lengthen. And then again, if you want to, lean into that hand, lift the leg a little, bring it down and come on up. Okay, let's go into cat and cow for a second. Okay, so our next pose is just going to be half camel. We're not doing a back bending class, we're doing a side body class. So we don't need to do the whole camel, which I think some people crunch into their low back during. We don't want to focus on that, we want to focus on the side body. So we're going to do half camel on each side and just really lengthen out through each arm to lengthen that side. So everyone's going to curl their toes under. We're going to start with the right hand on the right heel. Hips are going forward, but first let's gently warm up our back and find a little space in that low back where we tend to crunch. Okay, so right hand on the right heel, left arm up in the air. Reach the left arm behind you, start to bend back, drop the neck, Drop the head. Belly button goes forward. We're going to come up. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So left hand to left heel. Right arm up in the air. Drop your head back. Push your belly button forward. Lengthen out through the right side body. Perfect. Come on up. And then go right into your cat and cow. Cat and cow has really become a favorite of mine this summer. I've never not liked it, but I've never liked it as much as I like it right now. Just to do as a linking pose and to kind of counterbalance other things, which has been really nice. Okay, your next big side body pose is going to be bridge. So you're going to lay on your backs. And just take a minute here. Lay on your back, find your breath. Close your eyes. Come back to a nice, gentle place. And our focus in bridge is going to be a little bit different than it normally is if you have practiced bridge with me before. We're going to pay attention more towards what our knees are doing versus anything else in the pose. Because if our knees are going out to the sides, which they want to do, we have to stop them from doing that by using our quads and our inner thigh and our groin muscles, as well as our outer hip muscles. And we want our knees to almost be reaching across the room in front of us, which is going to help us create that length from the underarm through the hip. So this is where it's tricky being virtual, because I'm going to assume that you've all done a bridge before, but I'm not entirely sure that you all have, but I think you probably all have, but I'm going to talk you through it. So you're going to lay on your back, bend your knees, put your feet on the floor. And where your feet are right now isn't a commitment. You're not married to that spot. You can move them around, you can change them, you can do whatever you want once you get up. You just want to make sure that your knees never go wider than your ankles. You don't want the knees to start to move out to the sides. And you want to not go up on your toes, which I know will give you a higher bridge, but I don't care about the height of your bridge, ever. Today, I just care about the lengthening from the underarm through the hip. So, feet are planted, knees are bent. You're going to make robot arms. So if I was laying on my back, my arms would be like this, a 90-degree angle, pressing into my rib cage, fingers spread nice and wide, pointing up at the ceiling. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so I can press down through the back of my upper arm to help boost my hips higher. And then I can start to work my upper arms underneath me and behind me to bring my shoulder blades together on my back to form a little bit of a tripod, which helps to open up the shoulders. So you've got your robot arms, you've got your legs positioned to where you think you want them for the moment. On an inhale, lift the hips high and start to work the upper arms underneath you. Now pay attention to your knees. You're not going to move your feet, you're not even really going to move your knees, but you want to lengthen the quads, which in turn is going to pull your whole body out. So you just want to, it's a lot of work. You just want to feel like your knees are trying to touch the wall in front of you. It takes your bridge from being kind of lackadaisical and easy to a little more intense. Take a nice big breath in. Exhale your breath, lower your hips down, come on into a happy baby or one hand on each kneecap, whatever you prefer, and then find a little movement on your low back. We're just going to do one more bridge. You just have to get through one more. Bring your legs down to the floor, bend the knees, set your feet up in position, make your robot arms, and on an inhale, lift the hips. Roll the upper arms underneath you. So belly button's going towards the ceiling, chest is going towards your chin, knees are going towards the wall in front of you. And you're probably clenching your butt. It's better if you don't, but it's really hard not to in this pose. I understand that. So focus on the other things and then kind of focus on that, but not really. Big breath in. Exhale, lower all the way down, happy baby, or one hand on each kneecap. Whatever feels best. Good job. I can't see you, but I'm assuming you did it well. So good job. Nicely done. Thanks for doing what I asked you to do. My 9-year-old doesn't ever, so it's nice to have people that do. All right, you're gonna lay yourself out long for Shavasana because you're already down on your back. And we're gonna hang out here for a couple minutes, and then we're gonna sit up, do breath work for about a minute or so, and then you're done. Then you've taken care of yourself and you're free to go about all the other fun stuff like laundry and cooking and changing sheets and vacuuming and all the other fun stuff. So close your eyes. Let your mind wander a little bit here. Pay attention to your breath, but don't pay so much attention that it becomes an arduous chore. Pay enough attention that you're focusing on the inhale and the exhale, and you're making sure that your breath is even and it doesn't feel forced. So you're consciously breathing, but you're not obsessed with it. And the more you practice this in yoga, the more organic your breath becomes, and the more you'll find that even when you're doing regular, everyday things, you're yoga breathing, which is good for you. It calms down your blood pressure, it calms down your central nervous system, it helps to relax you and ease anxiety a little bit. So close your eyes if they're not and focus on your breath. Start to move your fingers and your toes a little bit. Wake yourself up a little bit. Take a deep stretch if you need to. Notice how good it feels to breathe deep because you've created space in there. You've expanded your lung capacity by opening up your side bodies. And when you're ready, either roll up to a comfortable seated position or go to your right and then press up to a comfortable seated position. So you may have done this with me before. It's one of my favorite forms of breath work. It's just alternate nostril breathing. I taught this last night, and I taught it the traditional way, which is ring finger and thumb, and all the other fingers are bent down. It's very awkward though, and when I was driving home last night, I was talking to Alex, and in my head I was just thinking, that's just a stupid way to teach that. I know that's the traditional way to do it, but I think it makes it harder for people. So we're gonna do thumb and pointer finger. If you wanna do it the opposite, the other way, you're welcome to, but I don't want it to be harder than it needs to be for you. So it's a simple breath. You're gonna take your, I use my right hand, you use whichever hand is your dominant hand. My right thumb is going to go over my right nostril, and I'm going to inhale through my left. And then my left pointer finger is going to cover my left nostril. I'm going to open up the right, and I'm going to exhale. And then I inhale through the right, close it off, open up the left, and exhale. So you're going to close your eyes and try to make this a little bit of a meditative practice, even if it feels really awkward and uncomfortable for the first 20 seconds or so. It's an easy one to find a rhythm with. And it doesn't have to be perfect. No one's watching you, no one's looking at you, no one can hear you. But with your eyes closed and your focus on your breath, and your breath being very conscious, you're really staying present in the moment. You have no choice but to do that when you're doing breath work and you're paying attention to it. Do 1 or 2 more breaths. If one of your nostrils, if one side, one of your sinuses was a little bit clogged, you may have noticed that one wasn't as smooth of an inhale or an exhale. But usually by the time you finish a couple rounds of that type of breath, it clears itself up. So that's something to keep in mind the next time your allergies hit or you get a little bit of a head cold. All right, stay in your seated position. Release your hands down to your knees. Sit up straight and tall through the crown of the head. And just take a couple deep breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. One more inhale. And exhale. And then again, inhale. Namaste. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining me for episode 39. I'd like to say that 40 is going to be spectacular and amazing and super special, but I really have no idea what we'll do yet for 40. And I don't think 40 is the end. So I guess you'll just have to wait and find out. And I will have to wait and find out too, because I haven't thought about it at all yet. Have a great rest of the week. Stay well, stay healthy. Figure out how you can give yourself a little bit of self-care every day. Maybe that's going back and doing some older yoga classes, or doing something on your own, or taking a walk by yourself, or just taking a really good hot shower and using a really nicely scented body scrub. Anything. Do anything, but do something every single day for yourself, okay? All right, I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.